I've often wondered about folklore and how much of it could actually have some truth behind its ambiguity. One mythical creature that captivates me is the Scandinavian troll. Legends of elusive and dangerous trolls have existed in Scandinavian culture for thousands of years. In Norse mythology, trolls are depicted as dwelling in isolated rocks, caves, or mountains. There they live together in small family units and tend to keep their distance from human beings. The Old Norse word troll is thought to mean demon or natural spirit. The word is associated with the supernatural and mystical in other Scandinavian languages. A troll is a perilous being, thought to be mystical in nature and origin. Trolls are described as being somewhat grotesque, short and stocky with unattractive, exaggerated features. In Scandinavian folklore, trolls were feared amongst people because they had not been Christianized. Though often associated with wickedness, trolls represented something not always entirely evil or malicious, but rather a sign of some distant, ostracized relative of humans, one primitive and willingly ignorant of God and civilization. Trolls were thought to be very strong but lacking in intellectual capacity, like giant brutes of enchanted regions. In some folklore, trolls are depicted as having similar characteristics to humans, but living in far and isolated places with limited social structure. Trolls were often associated with something called bergtagning in Norwegian, which means kidnapping. Stories of trolls breaching human settlements and stealing children were described as bergtagning. In some folklore, trolls are told to have once lived abundantly during the times of gods in the northern regions of Europe, only to fall victim to man's ever-encroaching society, where their populations became dwindled and isolated. There are many different types of trolls. Mountain trolls are depicted as large and possessing exaggerated brow ridges and being somewhat dim-witted. Another type exists in caves and rock caverns, depicted as smaller than humans and having mischievous lifestyles. So, could a creature like this have actually existed? Some have theorized that legends of trolls could be a memory passed on through folklore of mankind's encounters with the now extinct Neanderthals while migrating into Europe. Neanderthals were an archaic subspecies of humans which once inhabited the icy continent of Europe over 40,000 years ago. Neanderthals are thought to have descended from Homo erectus, which may have migrated into Europe, leaving the African continent 1.8 million to 500,000 years ago. Neanderthals shared 99.7% of their DNA with humans, but little is known about their intellect and social habits. They were slightly shorter than modern humans, with a much stockier build and denser bones. They had inward-sinking chins and prominent brow ridges, giving them what we'd consider today to be a primitive and archaic look. Anatomically, modern humans were thought to have ventured into the neighboring continent of Europe around 45,000 years ago, perhaps even earlier. This would have been long after Neanderthals made their migration. It is thought that Neanderthals and humans coincided with one another for at least 5,000 years in Europe. I can only imagine what kind of confrontations went down between the two similar, yet vastly different species. What we do know is that modern humans briefly interbred with some Neanderthals, which is why people of European descent have more Neanderthal DNA than people of non-European descent. Neanderthals are thought to have gone extinct around 40,000 years ago due to conflict with humans, climate change, and their inability to adapt as quickly as humans. Perhaps humans also brought deadly pathogens into Europe that Neanderthals could not survive. But could it be possible that isolated families of Neanderthals survived much longer than conventionally thought? Even after Neanderthals went extinct, some groups of humans that interbred with them more thoroughly could have possessed these characteristics of Neanderthals, which may have survived long after Neanderthals' extinction. So, could this truly be the origin of troll folklore? Another explanation is that stories of trolls began circulating during a time when pagan cults existed in Europe, as Christianity's way of demonizing them. So possibly an ancient memory orally passed down through the generations of our ancestors' encounter with Neanderthals, or stories originating not too long ago from pagan cults. Regardless what may be true, trolls are depicted as being somewhat different, yet eerily similar to ourselves. A distant relative, one feared, ostracized for being different. Perhaps we can learn from these stories today, and acknowledge them as a remnant of our archaic understanding of that which is different from our own.